I just bugged Janice, and Janice now made it so that I'm an enemy to my own community.
It's enemy of the state, but with like a like Chris Red. What's going on here?
Just a sillier version of it. Honestly, a better version. Let's just agree, a better version. If enemy of the state is just a silly motherfucker being like, let me out, I ain't do nothing to you.
The fuck?
The government growing babies. Microchips in your anus. All koala bears are racist. The ozone layer owes me money. Martians invented turkey stuffing. Y'all can't tell me nothing.
Yup. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another phenomenal episode of My Mama Told Me, the podcast where we dive deep into the pockets of Black conspiracy theories, and we finally work to prove that Kanye is just wearing them rain boots everywhere because he is a recent inductee to the billionaire class, and he's preparing for the impending apocalyptic flood which will doom us all. That's a fact. I think that's a pretty solid fact. This nigga is rain boot Noah Ark prepared for what's coming our way. You know who else is prepared? You know who else? I don't know that she wears rain boots everywhere she goes, but she is prepared for all that faces us. She's my guest today. My guest. She's so funny. She's very talented. You know her from her HBO special called I Be Knowing. You know her from her Patreon, Smart, Funny, and Black. Amazing comedian, amazing actress. Please give it up for my guest, Miss Amanda Seales.
Hey, Langston.
Hey. What up, dog?
You know what I just realized? We didn't mention, we didn't even say why we know each other.
Oh, yeah. Well, how did we? We met years ago in stand-up. I met you, I believe, and correct me if you feel like this is not true. I met you, I think, during the stand-up NBC competition. I think.
Did you? In New York?
In New York. We did the semifinals.
With Sam?
Yes, the same year that Sam did it. And yeah, that's when I think I first met you. Yes.
Really?
That is the closest I have to a memory. And then I think the rest of it all kind of bleeds together where you're just doing comedy, seeing people. Yeah. And then obviously Insecure sort of like, crash into it. Yeah.
Huh.
You're staring up at the sky as if to say, bullshit. I don't.
No, it's not. First of all, that seems like that was another existence, you know? I mean, aside from the fact that we've been in a pandemic, that literally feels like, was that my life?
Yeah.
I got to look at my journals, you know?
Yes. I mean, for the people that are unaware of what Stand Up NBC is, it was the diversity program that NBC was putting together to get like Black voices and diverse voices added to the community. But then they made a bunch of niggas stand in line overnight so that they could then audition for a minute in front of mostly white people. So
because then it got changed to diversity and inclusion. It was like, it's not enough for it to be Black folks. You can be white and gay. That's fine.
Right. All y'all can sit in a tent and wait to try your best in front of these people who don't really watch stand-up.
Yeah. And then you do a semifinal in front of a bunch more people
that
don't really watch stand-up. And I remember the person who won the night, per se, was a sister. But all her jokes were like, can you believe Black people do this?
Uh-huh.
And I just remember being like, wow, I hate this a lot.
Yeah.
And she was doing like a generic African accent. You know what? If I recall, she had made a joke that was like, my dad is like Mufasa or something like that. And I was like, don't do that.
Yeah, come on now. There's other African animals you can name.
Anyway, so, and here we are. Here we are, Langston. Here we are.
But you're here today, and I couldn't be more excited because you came, I think, with the conspiracy theory that's been sitting on our plate for a while, untouched. I think you are the first to want to take on such a daunting task, I guess. You said, my mama told me.
All of your technology is watching you.
You know, I dated somebody, actually, who was on Insecure, and he would not converse in a room where he felt like the TV was always watching you.
Whoa. The TV.
Anything with a screen, he felt like it was watching you. And
So the camera wasn't a factor here. It was the screen that was more essential.
it started with the camera. And I
Sure.
was like, sure. Right. And then
Mhm.
it became the mic on the phone.
Right.
So I was like, okay. And then it became the computer, and then it became the TV. And then I was like, are you paranoid schizophrenic? Because this is like a real, because I had dated, rest in peace to Dion, but like I had dated a brother in college who like, he had started similar rhetoric. And I told his dad, and his dad was like, I don't like the way that sounds. And it turned out that he ended up having a psychiatric break, and he was a paranoid schizophrenic. And it started with me saying to him, what up? And he would respond, chilling like the feds.
All right. Well, wait a minute, because that's just a good answer. You know,
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I thought. And then
what do you want him to be like? 7-Up? No, he said chilling like the feds.
And I just thought it was like a quippy, like maybe it was a rap lyric that I didn't know. And then we were like on the train one time going, like the first time we took the train to the city for like a date, because we went to school at SUNY Purchase, and we took the train into the city, and he was like, I started saying something, and he was like, shh, they're listening.
Hold on, shorty.
But you know
You're
what?
talking too much.
It really is a testament to Black women, because I was just like, all right, so he doesn't like talking on the train. You know what I'm saying?
Like, okay.
That's, now I understand. Now I know him a little better. He let me in.
Yeah, I'm gonna support my quiet train king. You know what I mean? I'm gonna hold him down, because we ain't gonna do that on the train.
So these things, I feel like I'm not fully committed.
Yeah.
But they were around me enough to where I just have there is a residual awareness of like, is that shit watching me?
Yeah. So would you say then that individual that you dated was the first person to at least introduce this concept to you? Or were you like already, finger on the pulse before that?
He was the first to like have empirical evidence, like he would like, he was the first to show me like, see, look what just came up in my phone. Why is it showing me that?
Yeah,
why is it showing me that? And I was like, oh my God, why is it showing me? And, and then like, people, I feel like this conversation happened somewhere else, and someone had mentioned like, oh, well, if you do this, turn off this thing and turn off your mic, like you have to like put your settings a certain way so that the man,
right,
don't send the pale horse to your house.
Yeah. And hey,
so that's how they get you.
That's how they get you. I agree. You do have to track your settings, be aware of sort of what you're allowing into the space, and maybe perhaps they won't be listening, but more to the point that these people who you were seeing at a time were saying, even with those setting choices, government's still listening.
But my thing was like, so what we gonna do?
Right.
What's the workaround? Like, are we just Amish when we're not on set? Well, like what?
Yeah, that's always my concern is like, hey, bro, not for nothing, we live in LA. You know what I mean? Like, this is not Montana. And if you're saying let's move to Montana and build fires there, I can make a choice. But if you are saying we are going to continue to live this LA ass lifestyle and eat sweet green, well, guess what? I think my phone's just going to have to hear everything I'm saying.
Everything I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like I just had to get, I distinctly remember like us, like we had eaten an edible and it turned up.
Yeah.
The paranoia turned up,
Sure.
and he was like, I was like holding my phone. He's like, are you recording me? are you recording me? And I was like, no, I'm not recording you. I was. But I was like.
You are the feds. This is all very clear.
He was saying something hilarious and I was recording it. And I was like, okay, I'm not recording you. And he was like, it doesn't matter anyway. They're recording everything. They're recording everything. Because that's when it goes to another level, is when the person starts addressing.
Oh.
I know y'all see me.
Yeah.
I know y'all hear what the fuck I'm saying.
Oh, okay. Now I see where you're feeling like this takes the shift from just paranoid to a type of psychosis. Is that this isn't just a person? Because like I'll admit there are plenty of times where I'm like, man, this camera's still on. I know that green light ain't showing, but these motherfuckers watching. But I don't go, what do you want from me? You sick fucks. Like, I'm not addressing them. I go to bed. I'm like, hey, take a peek. If you see something, say something. You know what I mean?
But at the end of the day, like, I mean, okay, so I just saw that reporters at the Beijing Games are using burner phones because they don't want to somehow have an opportunity for China to put some type of tracking device or tracer or copier in their phone when they leave. So they're using burner phones that they can dispose of when they leave. And I'm just like, I didn't know China espionage was really on it like that. Like,
right.
But I just was like, wow, like that feels very extreme.
Yeah.
But somebody had to have made them feel like this is a matter of national security.
Yeah. To your point, it is concerning, right? If nothing else, when you're sitting and looking at a situation where like a government, because obviously I think these journalists are functioning at least from some version of direction from the American government or
Absolutely.
whatever their overseeing government is, to use these burner phones, which means that y'all are playing weird government games.
Yeah.
That like, even if you're not doing it to us, you have the potential to do it to us, and you're not saying that, and that's fucked up.
Because it's like when someone accuses you of some shit that you wouldn't do, and it's like, oh, but you would do that.
You would do that.
That's why you accuse. That's some shit you would do. So they like, China gonna do that. And it's like, how you know? Y'all already tried. Y'all tried it. Y'all doing it.
Yeah, y'all do that to people, and maybe it's not the mass public. If we wanted to give the government any grace, you know how we love giving the government
love
grace.
it. Oh. You know why? We do it to make ourselves feel better. That's why. Like, they're not that bad. Like, I the other day said when Martin Luther King passed away, and I had to catch myself like,
right.
Correction.
Yeah.
When he was assassinated.
Yeah. He didn't go out of here with gout. You know what I mean? Like
this wasn't, there was no, he didn't die on a bed surrounded by his loved ones like he should have. Yeah. But I feel like that was like a Freudian government grace moment.
Sure. And I think that even if we were to give them some of that grace, it isn't, maybe you're not doing it to everybody, but you're doing it and you have the potential to do it to more people. And that's what makes this paranoia so easily accessible.
Well, remember WikiLeaks? I mean, that was the other thing, right? Like my mom was very big into WikiLeaks.
Like a fan? Just a fan of WikiLeaks?
Just very involved in the whole scenario of things. And, Snowden really letting them have it. He's really letting them have it. And I was just like, I feel like you think you're in on something that other people aren't in on. Like, that's what's always comedy about my mom in these situations. Like, you're getting the same information as everyone else, but she's like, so let me tell you what's happening.
Yeah.
You don't have like
you're reading it, but you're not reading it the way I'm reading it. So I'll explain it to you, you dumbass. I got you. I'll take care of it for me.
I'm just like, you don't have like a higher security clearance than me.
To WikiLeaks.
But that was a whole real thing that I think set a lot of people off. The WikiLeaks of it all, because at the end of the day, that's what it was. It was him realizing that the NSA was tapping people's phones.
Yeah.
and, at will, right? Like not even for just any reason, but just because they had created the capability to do so.
Right.
And they were just playing around.
And in that case, just so that we're making it clear, the NSA was tapping preferred phones. They weren't tapping all phones. At least that's the argument that's being made, or at least Snowden's argument.
Well, in the movie, which is always the source of truth.
Sure.
Okay, so then the way I understood it was that what makes it a preferred phone? Let me clarify.
Whatever
that
they
first.
decide is a reason for them to need to hear your shit, which is dangerous, right? Because at the end of the day, their decision making it's a person still making. If they don't like something I've said or are uncomfortable with a choice I've made publicly, they can start to tap my phone under the guise of protecting American civilians.
Yeah.
When in fact, I might just be annoying to a lady in an office.
I'm just picturing that film.
Yeah.
Like where someone gets arrested and like thrown in the back of a black van because they were thought to be dangerous and they're just the office prick. Like they're just, not even prick, the office twerp. Like they just said the wrong words in order.
Right. Let me ask you this before we go to break. You said you are not all in on this conspiracy theory. You're not fully invested. Help me get a sense of where you are in it.
It's not that I'm not fully invested. I think the better way to say is that, like, I guess in my mind, fully invested means I'm also like using actions to combat it.
Oh.
And I think I've just accepted it.
Right.
Because I don't genuinely feel I can do anything. Like they have like these VPN things that you can put to like stop your IP address. But I had one like that advertised on my podcast, Small Doses, where you can listen to anywhere pods are casted.
We don't do no cross advertisements. Nope. Cut that. Olivia, cut it. No, it's fine. Go ahead.
On my they advertised on my podcast, Small Doses, and I was like, oh, I get to use this for a year for free? Great. But then when the subscription ran out, it was like, back to tracing my IP.
Well, that's the crazy thing, even with like these VPNs and the other things that you can download to theoretically protect yourself from whatever's watching, is you still are paying a corporation to access this service. And in theory, that corporation has other corporate friends that they want to provide the information to. So it's like, is this protecting me, or is it just a slight... when they give you those aluminum covers after you run a race, where you're like, I don't think this is going to keep me warm the way y'all saying it is. This seemed like bullshit.
But when we come back, I want to talk about how this also extends to like how Facebook was tracing us.
Yes. I actually think that's a perfect throw for us to walk out on because as my listeners know, we come back with research, and I have a fair amount of research I'd love to unpack with you about Facebook and their devious choices.
Let's unpack.
Fuck yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. We'll be back with more Amanda Seales and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
Hell no, to the no, no, no. Hell to the no, hell to the no, to the no, no, no.
Yeah, we're back here with more Amanda Seales, more My Mama Told Me. We're still talking about the possibility that your technology is watching your ass at all times, just listening, checking in on you while you're doing your nasty shit. And you know the nasty shit that you do, person listening at home. You know why you're yucky. Anyway, so tell me a little bit about what you know, Amanda, because we left off here, what you know about the Facebook intrusions, let's say.
I can't remember the name of the doc, but I had seen this documentary on Netflix that just... it threw me off for like a good 2 weeks because it really spoke about specifically about how these internets were used to sway elections.
Yes.
And it was just, it was presented in such a, what's the word I'm looking for? Just, there was no theory. It was social dilemma. Yes, thank you, Ms. Aguilar. Yeah. The social dilemma. And it was just very matter of fact. This wasn't theoretical. This wasn't like, we put things together and it seems like this is the case. It was like, no. Yeah. This is what happened. This is how it happened. And let's talk about it. And that is when I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. So I like help this man get elected.
So the craziest thing with the social dilemma, to your point, is that it's sort of being presented by a bunch of people who built the algorithms. Bingo. And are like in charge of the way that they move and shake. And so it's not them going like, well, we think this is a possibility, or like, no. I wrote the code so that this would happen. And I would never let my children around any of these apps. It is dangerous shit, and we feel real bad about it. That's why we're talking to you now, directors of said film.
That right there, when the guy was like, I would never let my kids around this. We just saw some lady come out and then go real quiet about how it is proven that like Facebook and these apps are deleterious to our social structure, to the mind, to mental health, etc. And yet it's an addiction. And they play on that. I am absolutely addicted. Yes. And we're in a business now that's also made it a critical part for a lot of people to engage in if they want to be in certain spaces. So it's like, even if you aren't addicted, like you still have to somehow be a part of it. And it's frustrating.
Yeah, no, it's a gross game we're all sort of trapped in, of being both like, we need the thing. I need the thing to some extent for people to know I exist out in the world as an entertainer. That is my livelihood to some extent. But then on top of that, I feel yucky every time I have to access one of these apps and beg for attention in these spaces. And even scarier, the attention I'm getting or giving might be something I didn't even intend.
Oh man, that's the story of my life.
Sure.
I got in trouble the other day for some shit I didn't even say. I was just there. Godfrey said the shit. And they like, Amanda Seales was present when this nigga said this shit. And I'm like, God damn it.
But was you having fun? Because that's how you get in trouble.
I was putting on lipstick. I was literally putting on lipstick. This nigga was just talking away. And I was like, I was like, best of intentions. And people are like, Amanda Seales was discussing. And I'm like, if I don't say nothing, how is it discussing? Damn. But I think there's really, so I started Patreon because I was trying to I started Patreon. We started a newsletter because I was trying to find ways to extend off of the Instagram of it all, because I was getting shadow banned. I'm still getting shadow banned. Like, they really just in there. So after Facebook and Instagram got addressed by, I guess, Congress about their role in stealing people's information and, in really pushing the Trump of it all, they now became hyper vigilant about, I feel like sequestering anything that can influence the direction that folks think in. So if you're a thought leader and you have, I want to talk about this. I want to get what's it called? Talk your talk.
You want to talk that talk?
I want to talk.
Okay, hold on. Let me cue you up. You ready? Here we go.
I'm ready to talk my talk.
Talk that talk.
When you have a platform that has a bunch of people on it, you're going to, of course, have people that become thought leaders, people that are going to take the truth and, articulate it to the masses through their own opinions. And by nature of that, there's going to be people who start listening. That's just the way it happens. It happened with Jesus, it happened with Martin Luther King, it's going to happen on the apps. And the frustrating part, though, is that these algorithms can't tell the difference between who's telling the truth and who is just telling shit. And so what it does is it silences the folks whose voices actually have to be heard. And it's so incredibly frustrating because even when you get to the actual human beings in these apps, they're so committed to the algorithm of it all that they don't even have the ability to discern, this is the truth, this isn't. And that's how you have apps that are letting people say all niggas must die. They're not shutting that down. But when someone says hey, maybe you all should get vaccinated, they're like, wrong information. And it's how do you create something that's supposed to be for social growth, but you're shutting down any level of elevation?
I feel it. Yeah, it's to that point, and I think it's an important one for us to address. Even with the influencing the elections, right? It truly wasn't this like crazy infiltration that we sort of built it up to be. It was just motherfuckers writing some wild shit and then people amplifying the wild shit. So it wasn't, we were susceptible. It's not like they brainwashed us.
No.
They just showed us wild shit and we were like, I'm going to listen to that wild shit. And so in that way, the way that they're course correcting is by calling everything wild shit.
Bingo.
And some of it's not wild, and maybe y'all just need to have more of an analytical eye, I guess, in determining, like, is this honest or is this just somebody talking crazy for the sake of changing the way that our government works?
So, like, I use the vaccine example because someone saying, hey, maybe you should get vaccinated is, to me, very benign. They're not saying, like, you need to get vaccinated. They're not saying, you're killing everybody. They're making a suggestion based on their opinion.
Sure.
You should be able to do that on your page without them being like, no one gets to see your page now.
Yeah. But, and this will be a good segue into a lot of what I sort of found in the research, is that it seems to be born out of corporate interest, right? That like at the end of the day, there was a point in this pandemic, for example, where you said you should get vaccinated, and we all went, yeah, that's right, yeah. And then at some point there was a shift where some people were like, no, shut the fuck up. And then there was an additional shift.
Cone?
yeah. Then that's the additional shift where it was like, you're brainwashed. And we all were debating whether or not vaccinations were effective, whether or not they made a difference in the way that we survived this thing. And to some extent, they are more complicated than they were originally presented, but they're not nearly as dangerous as a bunch of people want us to believe. But because those people still pay for these lights to stay on, they're going to entertain both sides of the argument at all times.
So what you're saying is that by nature of the argument taking place, that the argument is what helps keep the lights on.
I'm saying that advertisers don't know the difference between an anti-vaxxer and a pro-vaxxer. And so in that way, they still get paid, and they're not kicking people off simply because they don't like their language.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you know, it's funny because you had said earlier about like how it's like if you want to move to Montana and you know, build fires, then that's a route that you can go. And that's how it feels like I have to deal with the internet at this point. I feel like Patreon is me trying to move to Montana and like, y'all give me $5 so I can build this fire. You know, like I had actually started an app. I had created an app during the pandemic called SFB Society for the purpose of like, let's have a space where there are no trolls. Let's have a space where people can actually have discourse, you know? And then there was like a fight on the app one day where this woman was like, I will put your head to the curb and smash it. And we were like, yeah, that's against our guidelines.
Yeah, I don't know if we can do that, baby girl.
But what we realized, I ended up having to close down the app because we couldn't. Managing a community is way harder than in actuality than I think most people really truly understand. Like,
yes, I think that's 100% true. And to that, and this, I want to segue us into some of this research. The everything I've read up to this point, and you take it all with a grain of salt. It may be real, maybe not real. Is that they're not listening to everything that we're doing.
okay.
Everything I've read, they're not watching everything we're doing. Yes,
I ain't gonna tell you though. I ain't gonna tell you though, Langston. They gonna say in the damn.
And listen,
So that's how they get you.
Because maybe they're just not gonna tell us. Maybe this is them just being like, no, we wouldn't do that to you, motherfucker. Why would you even say that?
Listen, I had to do an interview earlier today and someone was like, you know, do you feel like there are Black factions that are working to like change Hollywood, et cetera, et cetera? And if so, like, who are they? And I was like, I can't tell y'all.
Right.
And really, I should have just said, no, there aren't. There are none. Everything is
Nope.
whack. You know, like, but it's like, I don't feel like they would tell on themselves.
Yeah. So they claim that they are not watching, they are not listening. Yes, your phone is a eyeball. Yes, your speakers are ears, but that does not necessarily mean that they're listening to everything. And part of what they say as justification for that not being true is that the amount of data that it would require for them to actually be able to listen to everything that you're saying is so insanely large that we don't have the resources to compute all of that. Moreover, they say that the computers themselves can't actually make sense of the way that human beings speak enough to be able to, like, you know,
discern when they need to turn on and when they need. But aha, you see what you said? The computers haven't been able to yet.
Yeah. I think that is a key word in all of that. They say that because of our diction, because of our slang, because of all the different ways that human speech is overpacked with innuendo and sarcasm, the computers have no way of knowing what all of this means. But part of the reason that they know that is because they keep trying to feed our language to computers and be like, figure this shit out, nigga. I want you to know how to talk the way I talk.
And the computer sounds like the white girl that I encountered in 2005 at a job I was working at, where I was like, yeah, I'm about to skate because they said they're going to bounce in a minute.
Yeah.
And she was like, why do you talk like that? And I was like, what do you mean? She was like, do you have to talk hip hop talk all the time? Can't you speak English? Bitch. You know what, though? To that point, though, I knew a drug dealer who said that, like, the amount of slang in Detroit was so immense because they were always creating language that wouldn't be identified in a tap phone situation, that you wouldn't, you know, like, so they were constantly creating just new ways of speaking about illicit activities to throw folks off the trail.
And that was them just trying to throw other human beings off the trail. If you create new lingo every single day, the computers aren't going to be able to, like, do the math to be able to figure. That's what they're saying.
I still don't even understand what push and P means. So I don't know how the computer gonna figure that out.
That was a Urban Dictionary lookup for me, and I'm not proud to say that out loud. You know, you want to be youthful enough that you just, like, you hear Gunna say it and you're like, yep, and then you go on with your day. But I was like, Gunna, I don't know what you're saying most of the time. I definitely don't know what your Twitter is saying, so I'm gonna look this one up.
Someone had left it as a comment, and I was like, is this a compliment? Like, I'm like, because I'm really into blocking negative comments right now, and they were like, that ain't pushing P, and I was like, I don't know if this is in support of.
I don't know if I gotta kill you or.
I mean, I just, you know, capping took me forever. You know, I'm glad it's still a part of the lexicon because I finally have a grasp. But that's when I knew I was old. When I was like, what? Capping? Why isn't that rolling off my tongue? It's cap.
It don't feel good. It don't feel good as a 30 plus to throw in that's cap.
I'm in the 40 club, bro.
All right. Well, I was trying to be generous. I'm sorry for your loss. How about that?
May the force be with you.
So here's the other thing that I thought was useful, and this goes back to our Facebook conversation. And it really goes back to the grander conversation at hand, right? Is yes, they 100% say, or at least this is what they claim, is that they're not listening. But there is a history, to your point about the social dilemma, of them doing fuck shit with these applications. For example, Facebook has a history of hiring outside contractors to transcribe clips of audio from users on their services. There's another thing where they store messages that users wrote out but did not post. Like some shit that you, like, kind of thought you might say and then you backtrack on it. Facebook saved it and they just have it available. And there's a history of shit like this. So when you tell me that you're not listening all the time, I don't believe you because you keep doing evil shit in other directions.
That the part that you just said about them keeping drafts.
Yes.
That's trippy.
No, and let's be clear, not even drafts, because drafts you are saving for future use. They're saying they saved when you type something out.
So
and
it's
said,
an autosave. It's like...
And you were like, no, I'm better than this. You're not. And Facebook has evidence of it forever.
You know, I think... So we're at a time where I feel like people have really tapped into their darkness and are like, you know what? I'm gonna choose darkness. Like that feels a lot more prevalent than ever in my like lived experience. Like I feel like we all have darkness, but for most of my life, it feels like the consensus was, yeah, but that ain't cool, so don't go there.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
But now it feels like they're like, folks are like, fuck it, I'm out here. I'm trash, nigga, I'm trash. You know, and like are just like tapping into that. And it fucks with my perfectionism because it makes me feel like my only counter to that is to try to be like a flawless human, which is not possible.
This is a bad game to be playing.
And so when you hear about something like that, you're just like, damn. So they've tracked even when I caught myself and did better. But we also know for a fact that we are in this crazy scenario we are in a giant gladiator ring on a regular basis where folks are waiting to see like, aha, I knew you wasn't shit. Yes. I knew it.
Yeah.
And it's just wild to hear that they have like weaponry like that against anyone who's used their app.
And theoretically, maybe they do nothing with this, right? Maybe it truly is just them like trying to teach a computer speech. Or maybe it's something that even if they didn't plan on doing something with, someone might be able to hack, access, and expose you for your choices, even if that wasn't Facebook's plan necessarily. It's all scary shit.
It's like, you know, when are they going to handle Booby Arrest all of us and be like, here's some shit that you did? And
yeah. Yeah, we're not. What's that Minority Report? We ain't that far from whatever that energy is. The last thing I'll tell you before we go to break is that I additionally wanted to sort of look into that tendency or that thing that happens where you talk about something in a room and then suddenly your phone is showing you ads for the thing. And you're like, what the fuck? My phone clearly had to be listening to me. And they claim that that is not the case.
That is absolutely the case. There's no world where that's not the case.
I'm going to tell you what the internet's told me. And you tell me where you land in all of this. They actually say that because of the way that these ads work and because of the way that everything works, it's more a issue of probability than it is an issue of them listening. That the likelihood of you seeing the thing that you were just talking about is 1 in a million. But because they show you so many things all the time, and because human beings have a tendency to notice patterns, we create connections that may not necessarily be as immediate as we think they are. You're already shaking your head no.
Because that's an Illuminati gaslight. Illuminati for my mind, soul, and my body. Like, secret society trying to keep their eye on me. Like, that is a complete gaslight. Because I could see that if it was generic, but it's not. Like, so for instance, a perfect example is that I am now a homeowner. There are so many conversations that I'm having for the first time all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like they're not a part of my regular lexicon. Like I ain't never said HVAC before August 1st, 2021. So there's no trend for the technology to be pulling from to randomly show me this conversation around pool solar panels.
Sure.
However, me and my man just had a conversation about 20 minutes ago about pool solar panels. And all of a sudden, so it's a gaslight. You know, I mean, listen, I do know, like, you know, you learn a new word and then all of a sudden you hear it and you're like, oh my God, coincidence. And it's like that word may have been being said all the time, but you just hadn't you didn't have a consciousness for it, right?
Right.
That's what they're trying to tell you is happening. No, niggas, y'all are listening to my conversations around pool solar heaters, and I don't fucking like it.
Well, what they also are saying, and I don't disagree with you, it does make me feel like get the fuck out of here. But what they're also saying is you notice the pool solar panels in your ads or whatever it is.
Lies. The pool solar panels wasn't there before also. What the fuck I look like?
Okay, all right. I'm just telling you what the white man told me.
That's how they get you.
All right.
So that's how they get you.
Hey,
Yeah.
I'm just reporting back what the white man told me about the internet and the safety of it.
If there's one thing the white man good at, it's telling you some shit and making folks be like, that makes sense.
That's good proud white talk. Yeah, I believe it.
And the next thing you know, it's 2022, and we got a whole bunch of folks talking about critical race theory and the shit is a complete farce and a lie. Also, to that point, want to promote on Showtime, Everything's Gonna Be All White. It's a docuseries that I'm a part of that basically over the course of several episodes breaks down conspiracy theories that have been rooted in white supremacy.
Wow.
And
now they're treading on my territory. I don't like that at all. Hey, cut that. It doesn't make the final cut. Cut it.
But I'm really proud to be a part of it because it really is making white people just so upset. Just the trailer. The trailer is making them just so upset. They're like, "It's racist! It's racist!" And that means we've done it right.
We're doing a lot right. And I'm excited. We're going to take one more break, but I'm excited to come back because I have some more information that I'm curious to see how this bumps against your defiance that they are gaslighting us. I'm truly excited. We're going to take another break. We'll be back with more Amanda Seales and more My Mama Told Me. And we are back.
Can you lend a nigga a pencil?
Yeah, we're back here with more My Mama Told Me, more Amanda Seales. We're still talking about the possibility that your technology is constantly listening to you. And I'm very excited, Amanda, because before we went to break, you said it's complete gaslighting that they're saying they don't need to listen to us. And the final piece of research that I thought was really essential in this entire conversation and really sort of hammered home the thing that scares me the most in all of this is that a few of the articles I read said our tech absolutely is not listening to you. It's not recording anything because they don't have to. They already have all the information that they need about you before you've said anything on any phone or text any message. It haunted the fuck out of me. Basically, they said they know everything about you. They know your age. They know your interests. They know your locations. They know where your families and friends live. They have everything that they can gather. And so subsequently, they don't have to listen to your recent conversations because they're constantly sort of doing marketing strategy, course corrections, analysis to assume that you, a new homeowner moving into this place, probably has enough money and enough resources or functionality to be able to think about solar panels for your pool. So we will introduce you to solar panel ads, even if that isn't your shit yet.
Well, I think there's also the Google of it all, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
there you go.
All it takes is you Googling pinky toes, and now you getting sent a bunch of information about foot fetishes.
Yep. That is correct.
And you like, I was not Googling for that purpose. What they like, why not? Now, here's an option.
If you hear, and maybe you see that and you go, no, I don't like foot. And they'll be like, all right, I got you, big dog. I got you.
How about this? You know, I think, to be clear, it's like, even if it's not the microphone on the phone, even if it's not the camera on the phone, I'm still disturbed by the Google of it all,
Mm-hmm.
the traceability of that. You know, like people are like, Amanda, you should run for office one day. And I'm like, I can't run for office one day because I utilize Pornhub, and Pornhub will send you a video that says teen so-and-so, da-da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, no!
Yeah.
And it's already there.
And Pornhub has saved that to your favorites, even if that isn't your favorite.
There. It's already there. And even though these are 18-year-olds or 19-year-olds, whatever, it still looks fucking creepy. And I personally am just like, whenever you put teen in front of it, that's clearly somebody who wants to see some shit that is sketchy. But it's like it's a very, it's like we are in a fake free space in this internet. It seems like it's the World Wide Web. It's available. Everything's available to you. You can be here and, you know, find out your information is more available to you than it ever has been, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in that, they're clocking your every move.
Yes.
And they're capitalizing on your every move. And I've had to train myself that even when them cookies come up and they're like, do you want this app to track? At first, I was just like, I don't want to be bothered. Like, whatever, track. Now I'm like, no. Stand up for something.
And it's so scary. This will really hammer home exactly what you're saying. 10 years ago, and this was 10 years ago when our technology was fucking iPhone 3s, Facebook was mining over 500 terabytes of data a day. A single day, 500 terabytes of data. I am not a technology person, but that is like shit tons of people's data every single day. And so that means that if you looked up some shit 10 years ago, they're still holding on to it and figuring out who you are and who you were based on the information they used to have. So they don't need to listen to you. Every search you've ever searched is being accumulated and strategized against you. And even worse, the scariest part of all of this is these companies have the ability to buy and sell your information to each other. So it means that even if Facebook is the one that knew that you like feet, that also then means that these other companies now know that you like feet, which is why your feet shit is coming up from, you know, an arbitrary thing that you may have liked or said on a different app.
Do they have straight flights to Montana?
Hey, if you look it up and you start getting Instagram ads about it. Just know that they've already predicted
direct flights to Montana.
It's a crazy game where basically like your phones don't need to listen to you because they've already got a 20+ year game of telephone going. You know what I mean? They're just whispering all your secrets back and forth.
Ooh, why you put it like that? That just felt real. Like I was able to see that. And in my mind, it's like, what's his name? Hold on. Because there's a particular person
who whispers
that I see.
The Yin Yang twins. They had a whole song about it.
Wait till you see mine. I feel like there's I like in my mind I see Lakeith Stanfield like doing the whispering. That's the person that got in my head when you said that, him being like, yeah, so in 2011 she Googled corn on the cob. Now, what was she trying to do with the corn? Was she trying to cook it? Was she trying to make a new kind of Molotov cocktail? What was she trying to do with that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Sounds kind of fun to me.
Yep. Let's say that. Let's hold on to that one.
I just don't, when we look at the espionage that was weaponized against our civil rights leaders, and, the homegrown terrorism that our government enacted upon them, that is where my head goes with all of this stuff. You know, that, okay, so it's being used for capitalist purposes. That's shitty. But I just feel like we are in what seems to me to be a very impendingly treacherous and violent era in this country. Sure. I feel like we are on the brink of another type of McCarthyism that's going to be around race and and you know what? Let me not even say that. It's going to be around truth, right? Because that's essentially what they're silencing. It's the truth about what this country has been and what white people have managed to accomplish by oppressing others. And so it's only a matter of time to me that this things that we're discussing become weaponized in a way that's, I mean, and sure it is already, but in a even more sinister way that we find ourselves party to. And I'm sure in other countries it already has.
Yeah, I mean, I think even in its simplest form, we are going to be met with accountability that we didn't earn, right? That like if I said some shit 10 years ago that has now been deemed challenging or problematic, who and when they're deciding that it is correct or incorrect is going to be the game, right? That like, yo, he said this, and maybe it is problematic for our day and time, or maybe I'm saying something that continues to be accurate, but you've decided based on sort of like the mass public that it's unacceptable, and I'm being punished for it, either by being, outcasted or judged or shamed or just called a funky ass bitch on the internet. It's truly wild.
Well, there's a version. I mean, if we continue to see this trend, right, where I'm not even calling them right wing, where these like white supremacist extremists like are getting a real stronghold on all facets, right? Whether it's not just politically, but media as well. And if we continue to see that grow, then the shit that we're talking about that, in this current climate, for a lot of people feels real correct and right. It's the people who are in power who get to determine what is considered a crime, what is considered problematic, what is because so my whole existence would be considered problematic.
Oh yeah, you going to jail, and
I'm out.
I won't be able to stand up with you because all of this is gonna be wash.
Listen, it's just the same way that we look at the fact that, like, niggas is really in prison for weed right now while Ashley H and Ashley C have billboards for their new weed dispensary. And it's like, they picked the right time.
Mm-hmm.
The shit just swayed. Shit just changed. That's it.
It changes, and we are not nearly as in charge of the changes as we think we are. Yeah. And subsequently, we are much more victim than we care to admit that we might be.
This is such a fun conversation.
Would you believe this was meant to be the closer? This was going to be the end of the combo.
Woo! Ready to go outside and just take in nature. Yeah.
Well, Amanda, I had a good time.
I had a great time.
I'm a real sick fuck though, so I'll take it as I can. This was great. Can you tell the people where they can find you and what cool shit you have going on?
First, I want to say, though, that Langston is always a source of a thought that I never think about. I just remember very specifically asking you a question about Michelle Obama. I'm not going to say what the answer was that you gave me, but I was
$2.
like, what?
That's probably what I said. $2.
But I was like, why she cool with George? Why she cool with George Bush? Why?
Oh, I remember this combo.
Why she cool with George Bush? And your answer was something I had never considered. I mean, I had considered a lot, and you put another pin on the board, like, but have you considered this? So this, is the perfect podcast for your ass. That's basically what I'm saying.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me.
And let me also just publicly thank Langston for always being willing to show up to shit that I ask him to do. Langston didn't show up to do a sketch. She's like, what time I got to be there? Fine, I'll do it. Smart, Funny, and Black? Yeah. What we doing? This in the back of a comic book store? No problem.
Hey, that was a good comic book store.
It was a good time. You can check me out on patreon.com/smart, funny, and black. You can also check out my podcast, Small Doses, everywhere pods are casted. My book, Small Doses, is also available in stores and on Audible. And, if you don't want to spend any money to check me out, you can just still go to Instagram because I'm still in the clutches of the man which is the ampersand. No, is that the ampersand? No, the @sign Amanda Seals.
You don't want and Amanda Seals. Well, please go listen to the podcast, read the book, Patreon, do all the stuff that you've been instructed to do. And as always, you can follow me at Langston Kerman. I ain't going nowhere. I'll be on the white man's Instagram forever. Follow me there. And please subscribe, review the podcast, do all the stupid stuff that they tell you to do for podcasts. Okay.
Yeah.
That's enough. Bye.